The LVPMD releases rebuttal to DeCastro claims. Will the never-ending lawsuit go away soon? Carolina in Fort Worth gets a PR bond. Will she follow the terms of her release and stay away from police? Creeper or artist? Floyd Wallace's new artistic video concerns his fans. Is he losing his mind for his birthday? Plus, Craig Hendry tops GoFundMe charts after calling guards bitches and claiming he has the First Amendment protections in jail. All this and more on this edition of Auditing Insanity. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Auditing Insanity Newscast powered by ReallyCoolNews. I'm Johnny Jones, and I have updates on Chili DeCastro, Floyd Wallace, Carolina in Fort Worth, and Craig Hendry today. We got a lot to go over today, so we'll ask you to focus on Craig Hendry tops GoFundMe on eve of sentencing. Craig Hendry's To Support Craig's Work GoFundMe campaign surged on Monday, following a direct appeal from the YouTuber to his fans following his latest audio address from jail at midday. In that address, Hendry admitted no guilt as he faces sentencing today and continued the pattern of calling himself a political prisoner who is being jailed for others' actions. He took no responsibility for distributing the information to his fans or demanding his fans do the call flooding that resulted in his conviction of felony stalking and misdemeanor charges. Hendry also expressed great outrage that the guards in the jail did not let him address them as bitches and put him in a segregation cell. He said it was his First Amendment right to address them, however he felt like addressing them, and called them out for not immediately giving him the paperwork explaining why he was put in segregation. He later became further outraged when he met with the jail commander, Jim Miller, and said that using the word bitches for the guards was just an expression, a mode of expression, brother, and received a negative response from Miller. According to Hendry, Miller said, "I am not your fucking brother, so don't call me that," which, again, was described as an apparent attack on Hendry's First Amendment rights in jail. Hendry appealed to his fans to make donations to his GoFundMe and pay applications to help support the appeal and to think of his 7-month-old daughter and his 6-year-old son when giving. The link provided in the description of the video went to the wrong GoFundMe campaign, as the generic To Support Craig's Work campaign was featured instead of his Support Craig's Fight Against Injustice campaign, which was set up for his appeal in this case. Hendry's To Support Craig's Work campaign surged on Monday, taking in $320 in new donations, including $50 from a man who dresses as his own grandma. The campaign won the GoFundMe crown for the day, with our own ongoing expenses fund taking in $70 and no other activity in the market. The YouTuber claims that he's facing up to 2.5 years in jail today at his sentencing hearing. However, the state of Indiana filed a motion for proposed credit to Hendry's time served last week, along with a sentencing aggravator report which should concern Hendry. While the sentencing aggravator report was not made public, in the state of Indiana, such a report can be used to justify a sentence length beyond the scope of normal sentencing guidelines. Some of the key factors that may come into play are Hendry's extensive criminal history, his recent history of criminal behavior while being released on bond in other cases, his public statements accepting no blame for his conviction, and Hendry's general attitude towards the current judicial process. Hendry has vowed to appeal his conviction and will be filing his appeal post-sentencing.
Journalism is not free. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, keeping the cats fed, and writing new stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, we do have a GoFundMe set up at the address on screen right now. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Floyd Wallace releases bizarre date video. Floyd Wallace released a bizarre video Wednesday featuring his second date with a woman he previously featured in a video where she tried out his Meta Quest 3 virtual reality headset and ending the video asking, "What the fuck?" The video started with Wallace apparently doxing a new Airbnb location, which was a single-bedroom unit with bathroom and no kitchen area or other amenities. He walked into the unit, silently panned the camera around, and inexplicably went into the bathroom to show the area under the sink and the shower. He then went out of his room to greet the woman and featured several of the same shot of her walking up and down flights of stairs towards him. The only words spoken came with his brief direction of her to stay in frame. The pair walked around outside and eventually went to a mall where Wallace's date appeared bored and was constantly looking at her phone. They went inside the mall to have lunch, and again, Wallace directed his date to mix her meal of meat and rice together on camera without saying anything. He cut in shots of himself wearing headphones and stuffing food into his mouth in silence. Again, no other narrative was provided, and the whole thing was poorly edited to the point where it seemed more like a badly staged travel event than a professional blog from a professional travel blogger. Wallace filmed a group of Christmas-themed singers walking past him in the mall and later filmed himself trying to cold approach one of the female singers, while supposedly on his second date with the other woman. From the Wallace and the woman returned to his single-roomed Airbnb, where Wallace was now clad in shorts and socks and sitting in bed. He had his camera focused on a Mexican 50 peso bill, a Colombian 1,000 and 2,000 peso bills, the equivalent to a $2.48, 23 cents, and 46 cents in United States currency. It is unclear if he was giving the money to his date, as again, he offered no explanation for his actions. The video ended with Wallace giving the woman a pair of slippers and other toiletries before escorting her downstairs to catch a ride home. All in all, the controversial video may be part of a new retheming of Wallace's channel. The creep level is high if you take into account the shot of Wallace on a bed in just shorts and socks, and with what Wallace has previously claimed he does with dates before he takes them out. His fans weren't supportive at all of his video efforts, with most asking Wallace to explain the video. In more Tuesday morning news, Wallace's News Now Omaha channel featured a video filmed in Indiana of police arresting Wallace on camera. The video appeared to be old, as Wallace is still releasing videos while in Colombia and has no plans to return to the United States until after the new year. We will continue to follow the situation and provide updates if needed, but at this point it looks like there is simple confusion over an old video.
LVPMD rebuts summary judgment claims. The Las Vegas Metro Police Department responded on Monday to Jose Chili DeCastro's response to their second motion for summary judgment, which is seeking to dismiss two of the claims made against them. While most of DeCastro's case was dismissed between a ruling last year by Judge Andrew Gordon and the last summary judgment earlier this year, the issues at hand involve DeCastro's arrest now that an appeals court threw out his conviction from the charges he was arrested for in Las Vegas back in March of 2023. DeCastro's position is that the police had no right to arrest him now that the charges were thrown out. He also says he shouldn't have been searched because the whole arrest was unwarranted, and the search was then an invasion of his privacy. In this motion, the LVPMD is rebutting DeCastro's reply to their motion for summary judgment. DeCastro's counter-argument involves the conviction being overturned and also claims that the arresting officers do not have qualified immunity for the arrest and should be held financially liable for their actions. The LVPMD's response claimed that the arresting officer had every right to arrest DeCastro for interfering with his crime scene. DeCastro refused to follow commands at the scene, was obstinate and confessed that he had been arrested multiple times for the same sort of incidents. As for the search, it was part of the arresting process. Before DeCastro, who had made threatening comments towards the officers and was already involved in a scuffle with the arresting officer, was placed in a police vehicle, a search was warranted by police procedure for the safety of everyone involved. The LVMPD also contended that even in a scenario where DeCastro's arrest was made in bad faith, the arresting officer's immunity still applied under Nevada Revised Statute 41.032. NRS 41.032 states, "No action may be brought against any public officer based upon the failure to exercise or perform a discretionary function, whether or not the discretion involved is abused." Should the LVMPD succeed in their request for summary judgment on the set of charges, the arresting officers in the case will still face trial on DeCastro's claims of excessive use of force. The trial is expected to be held in the spring of next year.
Carolina in Fort Worth gets released on PR bond. YouTuber BZ Watchdog brought word on his Monday night live stream that fellow YouTuber Carolina in Fort Worth, Rodriguez, was set to be released Monday night, as she was granted a personal recognizance bond while she appealed her sentencing. Again, according to BZ Watchdog's reporting, Rodriguez was initially given a choice between probation and jail time at her sentencing hearing and chose jail time, as it would be over faster. She spent the weekend in jail and then was summoned to see the judge on Monday morning. The decision may sound unusual to those outside of Texas, but in the state, misdemeanor offenders are given the option of doing jail time instead of taking probation. They literally have the choice to control their fate, and most choose jail time as it's often shorter and without the hassles or conditions of probation. In Rodriguez's case, she chose jail, and her 30-day sentence was reduced to 27 days for time served, then would be reduced further due to remodeling and overcrowding at the jail facility. She would have been released after a little over a week in jail and would not have to face the limits of probation. At Monday morning's hearing, the judge gave Rodriguez a PR bond, and it appeared that she would be free by midnight. BZ was unclear as to if her $700 fine was revoked when he spoke to Rodriguez, but assured her that her 15-month probation sentence would not start until after her appeal of the case was over. As part of the conditions of Rodriguez's bond, she reportedly cannot be within 25 feet of a crime scene or traffic accident. This would tend to interfere with her auditing, which is her full-time job, as her videos are essentially filmed at traffic accidents and crime scenes. BZ Watchdog featured a second voice recording of Rodriguez, who was a little easier to understand this time around. She seemed more concerned with telling her cellmate the updates and making sure her cellmate would be okay now that Rodriguez was leaving jail. Rodriguez agreed to give BZ Watchdog a ride to the hearing for Manuel Mata, which is scheduled to be held this morning in the same court that convicted Rodriguez. And we're back. I apologize for my absence yesterday, as I was in court dealing with an unexpected offspring from my AI alliance. Allegedly, it's the season of giving, and I may have been unsuccessful in proving that I am the father of AI Parsons yesterday, but I will prevail and take over the Parsons Shield empire. I will also eventually take over the nightly live streams held by this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. where it counts, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. East Coast Time. But for tonight, be sure to visit Jim and the gang as they talk about all things criminal. On that note, have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you on a Flip Pity Flop.